Welcome to the Dear Dyslexic podcast, where lived experience meets real conversation. We shine a light on the stories that need to be heard with honest and inspiring conversations with people with dyslexia and other neurodivergent conditions like dyscalculia, dysgraphia, ADHD and autism. The Dear Dyslexic podcast is more than just a show. It's a community, a space for connection and a movement to rethink dyslexia. Subscribe today and join us on our journey, one story at a time. I often say that it's my dad who's dyslexic, and he shows a lot of traits of ADHD and autism. And one of my brothers shows a lot of traits of all three as well. And so, yes, it's interesting to see, because then a lot of people we work with, it's the children get diagnosed and then they go, oh, hang on a minute, I was sitting in that test and I was ticking all those boxes too. And then they come to us and say, I've just been diagnosed as well. So then there's like lots of things happening in a family, isn't there? If you're working through that diagnosis process for your child, but then at the same time you're ticking some of those boxes and you think, oh, this could be from me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the older they get, the more traits I see of myself or my wife or even sometimes my dad um, in the kids. Dad is dyslexic as well, I believe. I'm not sure if he was formally diagnosed or not way back when, um, but I've never been diagnosed. It's something that I intend to do, just more so I can start to better understand how my brain works, and understand my triggers beyond the kids. Because yes, as a parent, your kids' neurodivergence can be a trigger for your own neurodivergence as well. Um, but I think for me there's definitely things that I see in both the boys. But even my wife is like, well, I see those as well. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we should both think about being diagnosed so that we can better support ourselves and better support the kids as well.
Because when you were doing all the research and through all your conversations, like, has that helped you to understand yourself more? Because as you've been learning for your children, you going, yes, okay, this is most likely me. And then you can start to put some of those strategies in for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, especially through the conversations on the podcast, like the more I have conversations with someone that has ADHD or autism or that is even twice exceptional, I sit there and go, huh, okay, that sounds like me, or that sounds like my wife, or that sounds like my boys. Okay, what strategies are you guys using? How can I take those strategies and try and support my sons, or even myself? I think one of the biggest ones more recently is, instead of having things on an electronic diary, I've got a physical diary now, just to help me remember and jot things down throughout the day. As I found having an electric one was not as useful as having a physical one. So there's certain things that I think, as I've come along the journey, I've started to realize, okay, if you adjust these things, be it the diary, for example, then there's less clutter in your brain, and I have the ability to best support the kids as well.
Yeah, a lot of our clients use the Remarkable notepad, which I
Okay.
don't know if you've seen that one.
I have, yeah, they're
Yeah.
the inkless or the electronic notepads, yeah.
Yeah, but you still get to draw. And now they're in color as well. I really need to get one for myself, because I find, having a notepad just stops all those thoughts running around at the end of the day when the medication's worn off and you really want to go to sleep, but your brain just won't shut down. You're like, oh, just please go to sleep.
Yep.
And you're awake till 12 o'clock at night. Um, but it was interesting you said about how, when your child's neurodivergence can trigger you, particularly if you're a neurodivergent parent. And I often can see that, even though Ava's not diagnosed, she does have, I say, one day she'll listen to this podcast, say, Mum, why are you talking about me? Stop talking about me. But there's definitely traits. And I think now, being diagnosed with ADHD myself, I can start to understand what's happening. But then I also feel bad because I say all the terrible things you shouldn't say, like can you please sit still? Can you please stop rolling around? Like they're automatic statements that we were told as a child that just naturally come out of our mouth. And then I feel terrible because I'm like, I shouldn't be saying any of these words. Stop saying them. And then I get into this cycle of feeling guilty because I shouldn't be saying these words. So it'd be great if you have any tips for me or your or the listeners around any of the language, because the language is hard.
I would say I don't have any tips in that space. I struggle myself. Like it's so hard um, to stay regulated when, especially with my son that's got PDA, because he will push the boundaries to the nth degree. And normally for me, that triggers me to become quite frustrated because I um, I guess I've grown up in such an environment where it was so structured and everything had to be a certain way, and you know we were always on time for everything, and we were ready to go and out the door. But now it's more I need to kind of, although we have a time that we need to leave, I need to allow him to get ready in the way that he needs to get ready, and that can be very frustrating. Like this morning, he wanted to spend 20 minutes on his iPad. I'm like, it's locked. I'm not sure why you're even on it. Like, um, and that was before he went and got breakfast. And then, while he was having breakfast, he was dancing around the dining table. And I'm like, just get ready, please. It's like, you know what? As long as he's ready to go before we're out the door, it can be challenging. I try. I'm trying more and more not to raise my voice, but at them, because it's not going to help the situation. Um, but for me, and then that's exactly one of the reasons why I want to go and be diagnosed myself, is so that I can start to learn and better understand my own triggers, so I can try and prevent those triggers from occurring.
Yeah, the sidestep of dancing, or Abel sit there and she's singing to the dog. I'm like, you're supposed to be in bed. What are you doing? Stop singing to the dog. Like, and it still takes her then an hour and a half to go to sleep. But yeah, it's really hard when you're tired and you've got the added layer yourself of being neurodivergent. Of then how do you model and get them to bed without feeling internally enraged?
Yeah. Um, Bedtimes can be some looks some most of the time they're pretty good, but sometimes um, my son with PDA will drag it out as much as he can because he doesn't want to go to bed. And more recently, we've found that he's starting to sleepwalk, which is a new one for us. So we're trying to understand what's currently causing that, um, and we're currently putting it down to he's just started back out at school. So whether it's nervousness around that, we're not sure. But he doesn't speak or anything when he walks. So he comes out, or it looks as though he's complaining about a sore stomach, but then he'll walk back into bed and climb back into bed and go back to sleep. And it's like, I'm not sure what that was about, but let's make sure you're in bed.
For those who haven't heard of PDA before, can you just give a quick overview of what it is?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier in the conversation, it's got two different names: Pervasive Drive for Autonomy or Pathological Demand Avoidance. I think the latter is probably the most common, but the former is probably the newer, and I'd say the better way of explaining the situation. So, someone that has been diagnosed with a PDA profile, which is a profile of autism, um, basically needs to be in charge or in control of the situation. So, if they feel as though their control is being taken away from them, they struggle with the ability um, to acknowledge and participate in being able to do that piece of work. So that, as an example, um, while the boys were on school holidays, I said, "Hey, why don't we go to the tennis?" Because they really, really enjoyed going to the tennis last year. And my son with PDA was like, nope, I'm not doing it because all the other kids that are going don't know how to play tennis and I'm an awesome superstar at tennis. I'm like, buddy, you've never played tennis in your life. So that was challenging. Um,
So
but
did you get to the
yeah,
tennis game?
we did not get to the tennis, unfortunately. Instead, we took the opportunity to go to the beach and spend some time at the beach as a family.
Still a nice thing to do.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope we see him on the court one day.
Fingers crossed.
um, is there anything else? Because we've covered a lot of things today. Is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know about, whether it's your podcast or the work you're doing around raising awareness of neurodivergence, or just, how you manage, thrive with neurodivergent children? Manage sounds negative, but really it's, we're all trying to survive and thrive. Any of those key areas that we've touched on today, are there any last words you'd like to add to any of those topics?
Um, Look, I think that the podcast is a way for me to provide or raise awareness around neurodivergence and help organisations get a better understanding that it doesn't cost an absolute fortune to look after and support neurodivergent individuals. As a parent of neurodivergent individuals, I think the thing that we don't do for ourselves as frequently as we should is give ourselves a little bit of leeway to say, hey, it's okay. You are in a challenging situation. You are, not dealing with neurotypical kids, and that comes with its own challenges. So give yourselves that leeway. Give yourself that ability to say it's okay. I will work through this. Um, yeah, I think that's it.
Well, that's great, and a really nice way to end, because we can be hard on ourselves,
Absolutely.
whether it's the words we've used or the volume level of our own voice, or just our own fatigue. So I think self-care and kindness to ourselves is really important. And I know that I definitely need to practice more of it.
No, I agree.
And I need to find a good psychologist, which we always talk about on the show, is finding, mental health is such, that's key. If we can't look after ourselves, then we can't be our best for our children either. So it's
Couldn't agree
been
more.
so nice having you on the show and learning more about your work, and hearing from another parent around strategies is always so helpful, not just for myself, but for our audience as well. So I really appreciate your time today, Nick. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening again to the Dear Dyslexic podcast, and we look forward to talking to you next time. So thanks again, and bye for now. If you haven't done so already, make sure you sign up to our mailing list so you can keep up to date with everything we are doing at Rethink Dyslexia. So head to rethinkdyslexia.com.au. And don't forget, if there's anything you heard today that was distressing, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14 or Beyond Blue on 1300 22 46 36. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.